Yes.
To what extent do you think the tensions between Islam and the West are a result of the Western dominance in world affairs? And to what extent would that tension exist if it were China rather than the USA, which was the superpower imposing its will on other countries? To what extent is the involvement in Christianity in this tension coincidental?
To make sure that that's properly recorded, the question is, I think, to what extent do the tensions that exist are they attributable to the West being represented in this area of tension by the United States, and how different would the situation be if China were there as a non-Christian, essentially non-Christian entity?
It's a very topical question because a lot of Muslims now, exasperated, rightly or wrongly, by the West, are saying the West's days are numbered, let's go with the Chinese. And the Chinese now have this naval facility coming up in the Seychelles, and they're starting to look towards the Gulf. And a lot of Muslims are saying, we're sick of the Islamophobia, of the niqab bans, of the mad support for Israel. We'll go with the Chinese because they're just interested in making money, and we can live with that. That raises deep questions about whether there are affinities, which is why your question is kind of troubling. Because the story about Christendom and Islam is not necessarily a story of Manichaean opposites, because Christianity is acknowledged obliquely in the Quran as one of the religions of the book, and Jesus is honoured, and many of the stories that Christians recognise are retold in the Quran, and there's a certain mutual recognition there, which is not the case when Muslims look at China. China is a different Buddhistic, Confucian, quite alien space for Muslims to inhabit. Having said that, the historical record is that generally Muslims were much better treated in China in the historical period than in medieval Europe. There wasn't an inquisition or the imposition.
The point I was making is the role of the superpower.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to speculate, but I think that Muslims would be more alienated by a communist Chinese global domination than by Uncle Sam, I think. And I keep telling this to some of the Muslim radicals. One of my teachers in the Middle East about 30 years ago used to make 3 prayers constantly, and he would say, "Oh God, destroy the communists. Oh God, destroy the nationalists. Oh God, destroy the Salafi extremists." And now I see the Americans destroyed communism, and the Americans pulled down Saddam Hussein and the secular idols of the Middle East, and now they're having a go at the Muslim extremists as well. So it's not necessarily them and us. There is a sense in which we are looking towards a sort of overlapping common outcome in all of those things. But communism is enigmatic, but they are ready to embrace the Muslim world. I visited China last summer. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing has 22,000 trained Arabic speakers. Compare that to Washington or the Foreign Office, where they never learn the languages unless it's French. And they speak the smallest Sudanese dialects, and they have it perfectly. They're very impressive. So the Chinese are ready for it. Whether the Muslim world actually will make that historically gigantically important shift and accept Chinese global suzerainty rather than that of America, I have no idea. But it's an important question.